You know, guys, it's really rude to those who are maybe watching or may not be watching for us to just fiddle around. So, as much as we don't want to do this show, my guess is we should probably get to it. Maybe. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's go.
I suppose.
Let's do it. Let's talk the sadness.
All right. Welcome to another therapy session, and off we go. Welcome back to another episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. I am your host, Ken.
And hello, folks. I am your host, Scott. How are we doing tonight?
Yes, indeed. We are back. We are back with another game breakdown. Unfortunately, this one is not nearly as pleasant, but we got to do it. It's for our good. We need to work out the angst. We need to work out the sadness. And we hope that you join us for the ride because you need to work out some sadness too and help us do that. We have our buddy back for round 2. Sorry, Jake, it comes on the heels of an absolute crap bag of a performance. But Jake, our buddy at Texas Toasty 54 on Twitter is with us. Welcome aboard, sir.
What's up, boys? How we doing?
We're all right. We're all right. As I tweeted yesterday during the game, it was about midway through the second quarter. I said, hey, I'm not even mad. I mean, what did we really expect? This is the number 2 team in the country. We have not been to a bowl game since 2016. And hell, we haven't even had a winning season since then. No dying. Quit inhaling bugs. You'll be okay. So I don't know what we expected. So I really wasn't all that upset. It was what it was. We had to deal with it, and it wasn't fun. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. But before we get into any of that fun stuff, we've got some fun stuff that I've got to share with you. A few pictures. Number 1, that is in my buddy's backyard. It is, as he put it, hole number 9. It's an 18.5-yard par 3. And as you can see on that little hitting mat right there, those are limited flight, basically mini wiffle balls. So he had like a pitching wedge from 1978 from McGregor, I think it was, that was on it was on the deck. He's like, try hitting a few with that. And I'm telling you, Scott, I think I need a pitching wedge from 1978 because I hit it pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah, dead center of the green almost every time. And that was fun. I mean, limited flight balls, it's hard to really mishit those, but at least you can work on your swing.
Yes.
And then yesterday, I went to a tailgate. No Block, No Rock was at the Bauer Construction tailgate where they did an hour-long show along with the Where's the Line podcast, who also did an hour-long show. And just as Where the Line was starting their show, this fella showed up at the tailgate. Connor Hayden, we make no secret about it. We are huge fans of the Corn Craze YouTube channel around here. And to see Connor walk in just made my day. I was the first person he walked up to for whatever reason. And I shook his hand, said, thanks so much for coming out. Thanks for your channel. You know, all that fanboy shit that fanboys tend to do. And it was really cool. He took a picture and he talked with me for a few minutes, was hoping maybe somewhere down the line his schedule may open it up to be able to come on the show with us. So that was pretty cool. Too bad you weren't there, Scott, but you know, camping, got to get out and unplug, right?
Yes. And what a great game to just not watch and not even know what's going on.
Right.
Our camping spot that we had zero reception, nothing,
Right.
nada. And so we were just completely unplugged from the world where we were at, which was amazing. Because the last time I checked was the last moment I knew I was going to have reception, because we had just been there like a month before. And I checked, it was 14-0. And I was like, all right, this is even better. Oh yeah, let's go. I'm ready for this.
be relaxed and not worry about it. Well, before I walked in, or actually I was in the gate, and I actually had a real ticket for this one instead of one on my phone. So I just snapped a picture of it, and I said, either this in the next 4.5 hours, this is either going to become a souvenir, or, well, it definitely became an or, because I think it ended up somewhere on the floor of the stadium. I think it fell out of my pocket at one point because I couldn't find it after the game. But yeah, that's the way the ticket tumbles, as they say. But you know what? We should get to the therapy session. We really should. Even though, Scott, you're going to be doing therapy with us, having not had the context of seeing the train wreck that was the 4 quarters of football against Michigan. But let's just take a look real quick. These are the numbers. Obviously, Michigan won 45-7. You've got 20. I can't read that because I'm old and I have bad eyes. 26-10 on the first downs. They were 8 of 13 on third. We were 3 of 10, which I was surprised they weren't better than that on third down. They were 2 of 3 on fourth down. I will go to my grave saying Jim Harbaugh's an absolute dick because he did it when they were up 31-0. There was no need to go for it on 4th and 1. They could have kicked a field goal, got another 3 points put on the board. They didn't have to throw that pass into the end zone. In fact, I think it was the last 7
They
points.
did that? Jeez.
So
I didn't even know that stat. I didn't even see that.
it was kind of crappy.
Kind of tuned out at a certain point, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the stadium, and hell, I was tuned out about halfway through the second quarter. 436 total yards to 305 for Nebraska. Now, you read that one stat right there, and you ask yourself, how the hell did they score 45 points on only 436 yards, whereas we scored a whopping 7 on 305 when we've been averaging, right around 22 points on that same level of yardage? Bottom line is Tristan Alvano didn't convert when he had 2 field goal opportunities and easily within range. Otherwise,
has Tristan Alvano really been that bad?
Yeah, he was 0 for 2 yesterday.
And
oh my goodness!
Yesterday he lost his red shirt too, because that's it. And so, I mean,
but he lost that last game because this was game 5. Or no, you're right. Once you play in the 5th game, you've lost the red shirt. My bad. You're right.
So it's just kind of bittersweet that
he missed a 40-yard.
Yeah.
And
playing terrible.
That's all I see.
And you look at the passing yards. Harburg outdid J.J. McCarthy. And, most of that passing yards wasn't even J.J. McCarthy. A good bit of it, he was out of the game at that point. We'll look at that. We'll see his individual stats here in a minute on the next slide. But 16 of 23 for Michigan and 14 of 25 for Nebraska. So the completion percentage wasn't hugely different. Yards per pass was the same. The only difference, big one right here, 1 turnover for Nebraska, no turnovers again for an opponent against Nebraska. We are struggling trying to get the ball back from other teams, and that hurts. But there we go, 250. They ran for 250. We ran for 106. 74 of those coming on a play late in the 4th quarter, which we will talk about later. They rushed the ball 51 times. 4.9 yards per carry is going to win you a lot of damn games when you're running it 51 times. And only 21 for Nebraska, but we still average 5 yards a rush, thanks to 74 yards because of the one run there in the 4th quarter. Penalties. Sorry, you can't tell me there were 0 penalties. You just can't do it. I know flagging Michigan 2 or 3 times is not going to change the outcome of the game. I'm not bitching that Michigan won because the refs kept the flags in their pocket. That has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. But you cannot logically argue with me that there were no holds, I saw 3 of them myself on Nash Hutmacher himself. Hell, half the time he was triple teamed. You can't tell me one of those 2 guys ain't got a hold of something he shouldn't have a hold of. A la Texas A&M back in 2010, but that's a story for another day. So 0 penalties for 0 yards, but Nebraska 4 for 30, not awful. Certainly not their best game, but not awful. It didn't have the ball long enough to commit any penalties on offense anyway. So there you go. 1 more turnover for Michigan. Remember what we talked about last week, that we had to keep the time of possession even or better than Michigan's?
Yeah,
They had the ball almost 17 minutes longer, just over 60 minutes longer. You're not going to win a lot of football games that way. So looking at those, and I know the one that sticks out to me is the rushing yardage and the time of possession. Those are the two that really stick out to me. Are there other stats for you guys, like you, Jake? Is there anyone that really jumps off the page there besides those two?
I think what's crazy, guys, is that, I mean, Minnesota, Colorado, and hell, it's like we get 7 turnovers those first 2 games. We only have 1 turnover, and it just doesn't even matter. I mean, like, it was the second play of the game where it was the tip pass and they intercepted it. At that point, I thought we would have turned the ball over 4 or 5 times. So that's kind of like, I'm going to look for positives as much as I can, but that's the one glaring positive. Well, at least we didn't turn over the ball over 4 to 5 times, but apparently it didn't matter because we just got absolutely gassed on defense. I mean, they just out-physicaled us like no other yesterday. I mean, it's just really depressing how they go all the way down the field, get that drive, and then 2 plays later, we can't. I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at as far as out of all the stat lines, the fact that we only turned the ball over 1 time, and it just doesn't matter. I mean, we still lost by freaking 40 points. So,
yeah, Scott, I know you didn't see it, but is there?
I was just gonna say, I will stress this the best that I can, that I did not watch this game. I don't even know. The only highlight I've seen is the Joshua Fleeks touchdown, and I watched that briefly before I came home. So, if I'm just looking at the stats, the naked stats, looking at them with the naked eye, I mean, you pointed out the first thing that I look at is that when you look at the yardage, I mean, Michigan gets only 130 more yards than we do. We have 300 yards and only 7 points. And granted, 74 of those yards or 76 of those yards were from just one run alone. So you gotta look at that. But I mean, just looking at that just shows that Michigan played a very clean game. I mean, look at J.J. McCarthy, 12 of 16. He made no mistakes. He's a game manager. He knows when to be a game manager. And the best time to be a game manager, if you're a coach, is when you play Nebraska, because you know that they're going to mistake their way to your victory. So you just can bet on it. Even if you know you are the superior team, why even give them the chance? Just play the game manager game, and you're going to win. That just looking at the stats, it's kind of what I expected, really. I felt like I was being pretty generous with my prediction last week, saying 34-10. I wanted to say 34-7 or 34-3 or something like that. Like, I was really thinking that our offense wasn't going to do anything, and I was really thinking our defense was overrated. And based on these stats and from what I've been seeing, just floating around Twitter when I was able to look at it for a little bit there before getting on the show, it did not look good. So, like, it just is what it is. I have nothing else really to say. Is my kind of interpretation of what the stats look like, is that kind of what was actually seen, or am I just full of shit?
No, you're not FOS for sure. It was just ugly. It really was. I mean, like you said, 305 yards for Nebraska's offense was, 74 of it was Joshua Fleeks' big run at the end of the game. Otherwise, they don't crack the 300-yard barrier. They don't even come close to touching it. So, and that was obviously against probably Michigan's not number one defense. So we scored some points in garbage time, much like NIU did 2 weeks ago. So against our scrubs. So it tells you where Nebraska's at. And while it was hard to watch, at the same time, I wasn't frustrated, because I know we're nowhere near where Michigan is. I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit there and say, why not us? Because we're not there yet. We're not even good enough yet to say, why not us? Why not today? We're just not. I mean,
Nope.
I thought that defense would come out with more fight, but they really didn't. It looked like they were getting blown right off the ball from snap number one, and it just took their will. And I think that tipped ball for an interception on our first drive that they took right in and scored before we had the ball more than 3 snaps was a backbreaker. It really was. So anything else? I mean, these are the individual numbers, the guys that really shined in the game. The fact that our leading rusher was the guy that busted a 74-yard run and didn't get in with until 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game says a lot to how damn good that Michigan defense is. It was lights out good yesterday.
I think we need to get Fleeks more opportunities in this Nets game, and hopefully you see that, because Grant clearly it just wasn't clicking.
He was
the
struggling.
Offensive line, we'll talk about that later. Harburg, I thought I saw a lot of people dunking on him, listening to some post-game stuff about his passing against one of the best against one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. I think he did pretty serviceable. It just, as a whole, they weren't clicking. And from a game plan perspective, I mean, once your defense, I mean, that's what we talked about last week, was
right.
if the defense can hold them for a couple drives and we can get in a rhythm, then we've got a shot. Well, this offense isn't going to do anything down 14-0. They're just not.
Right.
And you didn't see it till the end of the game. I think they got within was it the first quarter they got on like the 12-yard line? They did that sneak from shotgun.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't mad about the play call, because Michigan on two plays, I'm pretty sure their first drive, they did a sneak from shotgun. It just went to the running back instead of the quarterback. So I saw a lot of people, mad about why wasn't it under center. It's just like we just aren't good enough to get that yard, I guess. I mean, I don't care if it's shotgun or center. I don't think it matters.
I got to push back a little bit on that, simply because I think you have a much better percentage-wise. You have a much better opportunity to go forward with the guy that's carrying the ball if he's right behind the guy that snaps the ball. And you got a fullback behind you that can help push you. I mean, for crying out loud, it's not that hard to get 3 feet.
Yeah.
Even against Michigan, if you get low, if you've got a fullback behind a big ass, you've got a quarterback that's 6'5", 230 pounds. There's no reason he's jumping into the back of his offensive lineman out of the shotgun instead of, and I have not, I'll say this, folks, I have not watched Coach Rule's post-game press conference, so I have no idea how he answered this question. I really haven't seen much of what Twitter has to say about it, to be honest with you, because I wanted to do this show tonight without my opinion being colored by any of that. So I don't know what was said. Maybe somebody in the comments can let me know if Rule directly addressed this question or not. I don't recall. I don't know. I haven't seen any comments about it. So that said, I don't get why you get into the shotgun. It's the biggest complaint I had from the Frost years. Every fourth down was from the freaking shotgun, and every time you turned around, either what was his name? The dude that's doing really good at Florida Atlantic right now, kept tripping over
Casey
his
Thompson.
own feet.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you have
Thompson injured.
Casey's injured. I was thinking of the running back that tripped over his own feet 2 years ago in our when we were the greatest 3-9 team country and 3-9 team in the history of college football.
Okay.
Said very snarkily. But it just, why are we trying to get a fourth and one in the shotgun? It just makes no sense. And I know Harburg was trying to dive over the pile, but there was no fucking pile to dive over. Excuse my French. They all got stood the hell up.
All I'm saying is that Michigan literally just did it from shotgun. So it can be done. First of all, it can be done.
That was against us.
But I know. But what I'm saying is it can be done, and that they liked the play call. And at least we're running it on fourth down instead of doing a bubble screen for 5 years. At least we're trying to run the ball. And and most people that I mean, I was on tour. Yes, I was out there arguing with Husker fans. I was pissed. I was more pissed about Husker fans' reactions than the actual game.
Yeah,
People just of the whole, and we're gonna get into that. The whole sky is falling narrative. It's getting old. It's getting old, and it's like I get it. I want to be under.
We knew this was coming.
I know.
As Husker fans, we knew. Did we know that we were going to lose against Colorado? No. Right. I think that's what's got people to this cataclysmic place, and it's like if we would have won against Colorado, won, and then lost this game the way that we did, and lost Minnesota the way that we did, I don't think everybody is losing their minds as much. I really think that that's the effect that Colorado's loss has on our fan base as a whole. That's my interpretation of it. But you are right. You are right. Like, I mean, just a quick freaking 5 minutes I scrolled on Twitter. The majority of it was just nonsense about well, actually, no. So the majority of it was people that I follow that basically were responding vaguely to this common in presence on Twitter, let's say, of these comments about us and about us like, oh my gosh, everything is terrible, everything's ruined. There's there's no hope for Nebraska. If Matt Rule can't fix Nebraska, then nobody can, like stuff like that. And it's just like, it's like, guys, like, did you really think that we were going to compete with Michigan with way that we were looking going into game 5? Like, absolutely not.
We could barely beat Louisiana Tech. Like, I mean, we probably would have scored another touchdown in the fourth quarter if the rain delay doesn't happen. They were making things interesting in the last 8 minutes. So I in no way had confidence. I mean, there's always hope, guys. There's always hope. But I had no confidence going into this game.
Yeah.
All right. So you see that on the screen, Jake. You had mentioned to me in our group chat that we have with you and Scott. Hot take. You've got one, and I think you just alluded to it a few minutes ago. Let her rip, Tater Chip.
So here's where I'm coming from. I think that all the people that call into these shows after games, my season tickets have been in this family since my great grandpappy fought in World War I, all these things. Like with the 10 to 15,000 seat reduction they're going to have, I hope that they don't get their tickets back, because I'm so damn pissed at this fan base because of the word expectation. We haven't had a winning season since 2016, guys. Like, if just what Scott was saying, if we are 4-0 and ranked, we're probably ranked, right? Going into that game, if we go on the road and beat, 2 Power 5 teams, I can understand people being irritated. I didn't expect we're going to get completely blown out, but what I'm upset by is the amount of fans I've talked to and interacted with that are like, oh my God, we shouldn't be we shouldn't be doing the stadium upgrade. And here's where the hot take comes in. I saw someone tweet out yesterday that we shouldn't do the stadium upgrade because all that money could go to NIL and players and all this stuff.
I saw the same one.
Yep. Until this Northern Illinois game I went to a couple weeks ago, I've seen every single game in the South Stadium about 85 rows up. Let me tell you this. This has been in the works for the last 18 months, this stadium upgrade. No one said anything about it prior to that. So I think that the people that are bitching the most on Twitter right now about how Rule's not the guy and, like, I'm tired of this, same shit, different year. I keep hearing that one a lot. It's like, then stop watching, because it's just like, that's not helping at all. So I hope that they don't get their season tickets renewed. I hope that the 10 to 15,000 seat reduction we're going to have, I hope that the 70 to 70K that we're going to have in a couple of years, I hope that's what fans that actually want to support the team. Because, listen, I was out on frost by the end of year 3. After 2020, I was just like, the whole bowl game debacle, I was done. But I still supported everything. You don't have to like it, but you can still support it. Because at the end of the day, this guy has it's 8 years, right? An 8-year contract?
Yeah.
It's an 8-year contract. Like, instead of judging him at game 5, judge him by year 3, year 4, because nothing's changing. So we got to stop. Like, we can And I'm not telling people how to fan. I'm not telling people that they can't be pissed. They can't be frustrated. I'm frustrated, guys. I'm 28 years old. I didn't see the 90s. The best season I had was when we got blown out in the 2012 Big Ten championship against Wisconsin. That's the best Husker football I've seen. I'm tired as much as everyone, but sorry, Ken. But I'm gonna get off my high horse. But I just want people to have tempered expectations. Like I feel like Nebraska fans, since leaving Nebraska, that people go to Husker games because it's out of habit. It's what they do. It's not because they think we're good. We haven't been good in so long. So that's my hot take, that the fans that are that upset about this team, this season, Matt Rule, then I hope that your season tickets don't get renewed in the stadium upgrade. That's my hot take. So
I love it.
That's it. Sorry, guys. I had to. I'm just done. I'm done.
Okay, so if you want to come at Jake, you can find him at.
Bring it on. I'm ready.
I hear you, man. I don't really have necessarily a hot take tonight. If anything, I put a couple of hot takes in some tweets that I found. And I know, apologies to Brian from Husker Army Pod. He's been doing this on their show, and I think it's a fantastic way to kind of, I don't know, get the sense of where some people are coming from on social media. And I try not to take the crazy ones, because there's a whole lot more crazy than there is realistic. And for me, this one here really snatched my eyeballs today, because I'm such a fan of Steven Sipple. I think he's one of the more measured guys out there, and he's got a little bit of homer tendencies too. So some of his commentary gets to be, but is colored by the fact that he is a fan. Although he would claim to be a journalist first, but in my mind, he's more of a fan. But that's what he said. He never thought they'd win, but I thought there would be a fight. And I'm not going to come in and act like it's okay to not fight. They didn't match in Michigan's intensity on their home field. Michigan, came in on Nebraska's home field and beat them in intensity. I didn't see that. I usually watch that post-game show, but I didn't watch that yesterday. I literally did not want to have anything I had to say today to be somewhat colored by what maybe I would have heard post-game yesterday. But I don't know. I think that take is pretty realistic, because to me, from my view in South Stadium, it looked they were getting blown off the ball from snap one, and I don't really think these guys knew what to do about it. And there wasn't a whole lot of intensity. I mean, from the tunnel walk on, the tunnel walk seemed a little weird too, because it was really long, like twice as long as normal. It took them forever to come out of the tunnel.
I just want to say too, with the other half of it, like I said, everyone has a right to be mad. I love Nebraska football. It's the best part of my childhood. I love Nebraska fans. I love being in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, and getting Go Breed Red chants at least once or twice a week, sometimes when I go out, if I'm wearing I love Nebraska fans. But I mean, like, all I got to say in response to that tweet is they're the number 2 team in the country. They've had, I mean, Jim Harbaugh's been there, 9 years, 8-9 years. Like, he's got, I mean, again, I didn't think they would get totally blown out, but I think that they gave up by halftime. They were done, I mean, I think they even gave it a quarter, I mean, I just had it in the background. I stopped watching. So, I mean, I just did other things around the house. I cleaned my house. I had to do something productive.
You'd peek back every once in a while, see the score getting worse, and you're like, yeah.
I'm like, oh, it still sucks. Oh, okay, cool. So
I was crazy. I took my punishment. I stayed in the stadium all the way to the end of the game. So, and I'm glad I got to see that run at the end. So that was worth.
Yeah, I'm sure that was exciting at least.
But I think Skurs fan 23 makes a good point. It's not Rule's fault, but it's astounding how far we've fallen since even 2021. And I think
you're right.
I don't know if it's Skurs fan. I wouldn't say fallen, except for the fact that we didn't know how far we had to climb to get back out. I don't think we've fallen any further since Frost was fired. I just think we're now seeing how big a climb this is really going to be. And Rule's doing what he does. He's playing some seniors, but he's playing young pups out there too, especially on defense. A lot of young kids with inexperience out there on defense. So that gives me hope for the future because a lot of these kids are really seeing some big boy football, and that's only going to help them 2 years down the road.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully.
Anyway, let's move on to the next tweet. This one cracked me up a little bit. Or not cracked me up, but Husker fans, the masses gave Frost 5 years, give Rule more than 5 games, which is exactly what you were saying, Toasty. Some of you need not to drink and tweet. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. I still tweet. I just don't drink anymore. And that's definitely led to me being more measured in my response to things. So,
funny.
Any thoughts?
I like
on
that.
I saw that tweet too. Yep. Oh,
I was just thinking, while I was sitting there camping and still thinking about while staring at the beautiful stars, and having an existential, like epiphany, or two. I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, we're probably not gonna really see the fruit of the labor until probably like year 5. And what I mean by that is like, okay, Husker fans, I think when we say by year 3, what we mean is like, okay, he goes like 8-4. And then I think by year 5, he goes to something like 9-3 or 10-2 or something like that. Like he has the potential to do something kind of like that. I mean, with the expansion of our conference and with the talent coming in from USC and Oregon, and Washington, and just dude, it's gonna be wildly competitive here shortly. So, I'd say if by year 5 we're still going 8-4, come on, guys, let's think about this from a term of relativity here. In a conference like the Big Ten, where you've got powerhouses like that, and you're going 8-4, come on,
happy.
You should be happy. Now, if you're thinking year 8, I mean, I'm not even going to look that far, but I feel uncomfortable enough thinking year 5, let alone year 3. So I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? Let's just take a chill pill. So what I've noticed is that it is worse than I thought. I will give myself credit for a little bit of the panic sauce that I could feel coursing through my veins earlier in the season. Is it looked worse than I was anticipating. But it's a new coach. It's a new coach with a new philosophy. He's coming in here. He's doing a complete and total overhaul of the program. It's like, all right, let's take a step back here, everybody, and let's just kind of see how the season plays out. What does it look like at the end of Iowa on Black Friday? What does it look like? What does it look like then? I know it's just game to game. Let's see what it looks like against Illinois, and then let's see what it looks like at the end of the season, and we can kind of see from there. I'm still pretty convinced that the second half of the season is going to look better than the first half. I'm convinced of it. If he is the developmental coach that he is, I think we're going to see them make mistakes less often. Because like we've seen 2 games now in a row where, 3 games in a row now where the turnovers have been basically non-existent. Because what was Heinrich's stats for Louisiana Tech?
No turnovers.
No turnovers?
Yeah, no.
We dropped a couple on the ground, but I don't think that was Heinrich, and those didn't get recovered by the other team. So, yeah, it was definitely better. And there wasn't really too many balls on the ground yesterday either.
Tommy Hill had that kickoff return that on the opening kick.
Yeah, against Louisiana Tech. Yeah, and then he got lit up yesterday pretty good. So,
I just want to say I feel so much better. I feel so much better talking about just getting off my chest. I feel much better now because that's how I feel.
Dude, I do too. It's like don't worry, everybody. The sky is not falling. Quit getting mad at all these dumb, petty things. Like, I get it. I get it. Nebraska's not what they were.
I just want us all to move in the right direction as fans. I mean, like we don't have the previous winnings. I mean, Like we had the Bo Pelini years, but that's all we have to hang our hat on. So if we can all accept that this is going to take a couple years, I mean, we're not going the Deion Sanders route and cutting over half the roster. I'm sorry. We're just not.
No,
It's not who we are.
Yeah.
Nope.
So anyway, I need to take just a moment, guys, before we move to the next slide and just mention, thank you for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you need to know where to follow us, it's at GenRedPod on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as Generation Red on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcast, iTunes, Google, Spotify, any of those. Just search for Generation Red. You'll find our show, and you will hear the audio from all of these live streams on that audio show as well. Apple Podcast listeners, if you happen to watch this and you're wondering why you haven't got these latest episodes, do us a favor. You're listening to the old feeds. You need to unsubscribe from that. Go back, do another search for Generation Red and resubscribe, and you'll get the new stuff. So let's move on to the next slide, gentlemen. See if I remember how to do this. There we go.
I love this.
Another guy who's a little PO'd at people freaking out. Year one of a rebuild. Michigan is where we want to be in 2 to 3 years. Now, that might be a little generous in expecting to be at Michigan's level in 2 to 3 years, but I could see us being at like a PJ Fleck level at Minnesota without the douchebaggery. But anyway, this is where the mouth breathers excuse me of being a Kool-Aid drinking rule apologist. I love it. And yes, I am not a rule apologist. I am wearing this shirt because I'm a rule supporter. The man has been successful coaching and rebuilding teams everywhere he's been in college. Let's quantify that. In college football, he's been successful. He's not an NFL coach, you know. Greatest college coach of the modern era named Urban Meyer wasn't a great pro either. So anyway, there we go. I think that's it for the slides, isn't it? Nope. Of course there's this one because I have to throw a dad joke in at least once. Well, number 11 is pretty fleet-footed. And on that run, and you avoided being shut out at home for the first time since 1968. Thank you, Jim Harbaugh, for not being a dick and actually putting in your second and third string defense, or this doesn't happen. So, anyway, I think we've, unless you guys have some more burning thoughts about specifically the Michigan game, coming out of the Michigan game or anything like that, I think we can move on to taking a look at Illinois, can't we?
I'm completely done screaming about the fans. I want us to all sing Kumbaya and I'll be happy together, So I'm done.
Be merry. I love Husker fans.
Me too.
Right.
You
You're
guys,
the best.
But some of you suck.
But before we do that,
suck.
I just want to ask you a weird question to anybody that's in the chat that may have been in the stadium yesterday. It was less than half full when Fleeks broke free for that 74-yard run late in the fourth quarter, and the crowd went absolutely nuts. Do you think that was a response to the TD itself, or because NU wouldn't be shut out at home for the first time since 1968?
Well, I'll just respond to this right away. I honestly would say probably the latter, because Nebraska is notorious for knowing these weird, goofy stats. We have been so pained by all of the records that Nebraska has held together for generations, basically, since we hired Bill Callahan. Just every little thing, just one every year. It seems like it's like, oh boy. So going into this game, you knew that there was a potential with Michigan that we could potentially get shut out. And so it's like when he scores, it's like there was a big sigh of relief across the stadium, and they were
place went nuts. Everybody was
jumping
around. Like we just won a Big Ten championship or something. People were losing their minds. So
I honestly felt the urge to take off all my clothes and go streaking. I was pretty pumped up.
Incredible.
I'm like, I don't know what I was doing, the dishes or whatever, and I heard it on the broadcast. I was like, let's go. We're not shut out. Yeah.
Yep. So, well, all right. With that in the rearview mirror, we are now figuratively turning the page from that thing that was the Michigan game And we're moving on to something that's very winnable in the Illinois game because they looked like, well, for lack of a better term, almost as bad hammered crap as we looked like. So those are the numbers from their loss to Purdue. I believe it was at Purdue. So, they weren't much better. On their third down efficiency was even worse than ours, but they did convert 2 out of 3 of first downs. Only 17 first downs, or 2 out of 3 on third down, excuse me. And again, very similar offensive numbers, but not very similar final score at all at 44-19. So looking at those numbers, excuse me, where do you think Rule and company need to focus their game plan when it comes to beating Illinois? What is it that they need to do? Do they need to focus on running the ball, passing the ball? Because it looks like Purdue was able to do both quite effectively. And then defensively, what do you think we need to see happen defensively to keep this number right about where it's at? If we keep them to 375 or less yards, I'd say we have a good chance to win. So I'll leave it up to you guys. You look at the numbers. What do you think?
What do you think, Jake?
Play action RPO. Play action RPO. That's what you have to do. I mean, I also think that Fleeks the freak. We need to give him the ball 1,000 times because he got, 1 touchdown, 1 run against a fifth-string defense. So, I mean, there's hope there. I think that we actually get after their ass, and I think we do a lot of run-pass option, I think is how you beat this team. And option-wise, I think we've looked pretty solid. Seeing all the I formation sets we've done even yesterday, I think it looks awesome. I haven't seen Nebraska do that in forever. So I'm gonna say play action RPO. So
go ahead, Scott. What do you think?
I think what's interesting is that the stat lines are actually relatively close, and the score is so separate.
Just like us, yeah.
Yeah, but the difference is that Purdue was efficient on third down. Yep. Purdue didn't turn the ball over, or that they didn't turn the ball over more than Illinois did. They only committed 3 penalties, and they must have been better in Illinois' territory throughout the game. And they were obviously more responsible with the time that they had, because the time of possession, I mean, having 31, almost 32 minutes of time of possession, it's nice to have those extra few minutes, but I mean, not when you're looking at the score, you don't like necessarily expect that. So when I'm looking at these stats, I go, you know what? Illinois is not a bad team. They're just a sloppy team right now. I think that's what we've seen so far with this Illinois squad, is they've been a sloppy team, just like we have been, which scares me because it's just going to be a showdown of sloppy teams, which is exactly what Minnesota has been this year so far. From what I've seen from them since we played them first game, they've been a super sloppy team. And so it's like, what in the world, what kind of Illinois game are we going to see? Like, looking at these stat lines, it's like, clearly they can produce. They just don't know what the hell to do with it when they get somewhere. So yeah, I look at this. Okay. So Moonbot just commented something just super simple. Super simple. He said, play clean.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, that's really the best way you could summarize, like, looking at this and going, how does this game play out or how does this game play out against Nebraska? It's like, well, how does Nebraska play? Do they play clean or do they not? Do they make mistakes or do they not? Are we able to capitalize on opportunities? Or are we just going to like lay absolute eggs? Who knows?
Absolutely. I'm looking at I should have took a look at the special teams, see if there was a big difference in special teams. Kicking, Illinois was 2 for 2 on field goals and 1 for 1 on extra points. Same with, it wasn't special teams that did them in. So when they got in scoring position on the field goal side of things, they got it done. So how they generated that kind of yardage and didn't generate more than 19 points is kind of a surprise. But then again, it's Illinois. So, and they were playing their old defensive coordinator, who's in his first year as the head coach at Purdue. So he knew their tendencies and probably knew what to do with them. Anyway, let's look at the next slide. There you go. Those are your players, top producers in passing yards, rushing yards, and receiving yards. Yeah, Isaiah Williams is going to be tough. He's the guy I'm going to be watching out for them next week, for sure. 85 yards on 11 carries for Kevin Fegan. That's not a bad production against, well, Purdue doesn't exactly have a world beater of a defense. And then Altmaier was every bit as good as Harburg was, right? Right around that 200-yard mark, efficient, but he ended up tossing at least one TD. So anyway, what do you guys think looking at those? Is there somebody there that scares you that Nebraska needs to really focus in on?
Well, not necessarily looking at that. I'm looking, I mean, you can look at Isaiah Williams, 6 receptions for 113 yards. Okay, that's good. That's good. But I'm looking right now, I'm looking at ESPN and I'm looking at stats across the season between our two offenses, right? And their quarterback has double the amount of passing yard efficiency and 65% completion percentage versus Harburg's 52% or Sims's 58%. So he surpassed us in that. His touchdown to interception ratio isn't great, but the stat that stands out to me the most is the fact that our running room, I should say, between Illinois and Nebraska is eerily similar. But the difference is that we have a quarterback room that can run even more efficiently than Altmaier can.
Right.
But the big thing that stands out is Isaiah Williams. He stands out like a sore thumb. We do not have our go-to guy. Billy Kemp has been good, but he's not been like Wandale Robinson good, and he's not been like Trey Palmer good or Samari Torre good. He's not been like that yet. But he's been reliable. But Isaiah Williams, I mean, he's got double the receptions that Billy Kemp does. He has double the yards that he does. And his average is about 5 yards an average more per reception with a 49-yard long. He just doesn't have a touchdown. Somehow Isaiah Williams just hasn't seen the end zone yet with all of this productivity. So I think that is the biggest standout to me, is how productive Isaiah Williams has continued to be for Illinois. What a weapon. I feel like he's been there since the beginning of time. When the Bible was written, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and Isaiah Williams committed to Illinois. So I'm, that's the guy I'm looking at right there. Altmaier is a productive quarterback. He's not going to make mistakes. He's going to be a game manager. But then you look at Isaiah Williams and you go, he's going to be looking to that guy in the big moments, the clutch moments where they're going to need to get up on Nebraska. It's going to be him. So that's who I'm looking at. I know there's a little bit long worded.
That was a guy that stuck out to me too. And I wasn't even looking at the season stats. I just seems like his name pops up a lot when you see highlight packages and stuff of Illinois. So yeah, absolutely. I don't think you're way off at all. How about you, Jake? Are you kind of in the same boat?
No, I think both Purdue and Illinois suck balls personally. I mean, just looking.
How you really feel down there in Texas?
So it's a polished. So
I don't know what the deal is with me today.
It's a polished turd and a kilmed wad of puke.
I think it's the Mr. Pibb Zeros. I've had 0 alcohol today, and I'm just feeling really spicy. Yeah. So I mean,
zero
Purdue
sugars can get you.
I know, man. Just high in caffeine, I guess. I mean, so Purdue goes into this game. They're 1-3. Lost to Fresno State, Syracuse, and Wisconsin. Both teams. I mean, all those teams are. Yeah. I mean, Wisconsin's the best team out of all of them. And Illinois doesn't look that much better. I think that this was the toilet bowl when you look at both these teams. So I personally think we have a bounce back game and beat the hell out of Illinois. Personally, okay. I think that our defense will really bounce back. And if we don't and we lose, I'm not going to be calling for Rule to get fired. So I'll just leave it at that.
Do you think our offense can bounce back then?
I think I think our offense only has a chance this year if our defense plays at the best of its ability. I think if our offense, just listening to Heinrich Harbard last week talk about the defense, and it was against Northern Illinois, actually, so 2 weeks ago. He said in his post-game press conference that, yeah, I went over to the defense and they said they got me that, like we didn't have to score any more points the whole game. We just win 7-0. And I'm like, oh my God, tell me how you really feel. Like, I hope that's not the case. So I think if the defense plays at a high level, the offense will match and, like actually put up some points and start to wear on them, personally, is what I think. So, but when our defense plays like crap, our offense is not going to bail them out. It's just not going to happen this year. So,
yeah, the one thing this defense really hasn't done yet that I'm hoping they do on Saturday is that they get some turnovers and they get this offense a short field. Get this offense on the opponent's side of the 50.
Yeah.
The turnover with some momentum to where they can go in and they can whip off a long run, or they can score, or they can find Fedoni, because Fedoni's infinitely better when we get on the opponent's side of the 50 than when he's on our side of the 50. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see this defense give this offense some opportunities instead of the offense having to try to figure out how the hell to get 75 yards down the field against what's probably going to be a bit better defense than they even saw against Louisiana Tech. Yeah. Moonbot thinks we need to really, really overachieve on offense in this game. And you might be right, Moonbot. I just think the defense needs to give them more opportunities for certain with shorter fields. I think that would really help. So are we ready? We're going to take a look at some bold predictions that we've all come up with. Are you guys ready to drop those?
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
ready.
Well, here we go. Jake, there you go.
Let's go.
Why is a guy who just got a touchdown against the sixth string defense for Michigan going to come out and dominate like this?
Fleeks the freak, baby. Let's go. Coming out party, has 2 tutties. He played running back in high school. He played for my Baylor Bears for like 17 years before coming to Nebraska. I mean, I understand it's a 3rd string or 18th string defense that Michigan had, but guys, he's fast. Like, has he even gotten a ball as a receiver this whole year? Nope. I mean, like, we are so down on running backs and receivers that we gave up a receiver for him to be at running back. So I think that he's going to be 2nd string because Emmett Johnson apparently can't pass block to save his life. I actually don't know that. I just know that for whatever reason, he's not playing. So I think he's going to be your 2nd string guy. Anthony Grant will get some things, but he just bounces things outside way too much. So for Joshua Fleeks to run downhill, I know it's one play, but that's my bold prediction. He's going to get 2 tutties, coming out party. He's going to run over this Illinois defense like Melvin Gordon did against us. Like we're just going to – he's just going to kill it. You heard it here. Yeah.
You heard it here. Old Texas Toasty, without being plied with alcohol at all, is predicting a 400-yard rushing performance from Joshua Fleeks in 2 touches.
Yes, sir.
Holy God. that is a bold prediction if I've ever heard one.
He asked for bold. I gave him bold.
That is bold. That's some Casey masterpieces, bold and spicy right there. Go ahead, Scott.
All right. So this is the part that's going to get Husker Nation just completely riled up because it's going to be a sloppy game. It's going to be a lot of punches back and forth. A lot of them are going to miss, and we're going to actually punch each of ourselves in the nuts quite often, I think, is what the game is going to look like. And Nebraska is going to experience what they had happen to them against OU back in 2021, which is that Nebraska is actually going to block an extra point after an Illinois score, and we're going to return it for 2 points. And the person who blocks it is going to, obviously, I don't know who that's going to be, but the person who scoops and scores is going to be a walk-on who made it onto the special teams unit. And may or may not be like a second string or third string, and works his way up on the depth chart because of this scoop and score. So because this is what Matt Rule does. Matt Rule does. If somebody takes an opportunity and seizes it, they're going to get rewarded with playing time, or at least more practice time with the ones. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I think that we see something like that and everybody goes berserk. I mean, this walk-on dude is going to he's going to be like on The Bachelor. He's going to have ladies just lining up and auditioning to be his girlfriend if he doesn't already have one. It's just going to be a party, an absolute party. So that's my bold prediction. So I can't wait for it to happen. Obviously, clearly.
So you're predicting that a walk on the special teams unit is going to end up with like Alex Henry legendary status. That's what you're saying. I like it.
Yeah, because he does it with some like swagger too. There we go.
Flair.
Bold prediction on the bold prediction. He does something that's kind of cheeky, where he doesn't get a flag thrown at him right at the end, but he does something that's just a little bit.
Crowd, because he's on the road, and that's where you're supposed to shush the crowd.
No, he just does something. He just does something funny. I don't know what it is going to be, but that's my bold prediction.
He's doing the corn thing that Michigan was doing. My God, did I want to take my projector and throw it off the balcony every time they kept doing that yesterday. I was like, you guys look like idiots when you're doing this corn cob. I don't know. Michigan's stupid. Screw those guys.
Well, that's okay. Oh, Bot's got quite the. You know what, Bot? We're kind of simpatico. So there you go. Offense is going to score some TDs, according to us, and defense, obviously, with my bold prediction being that Deshaun Singleton absolutely blows a dude up and gets a scoop and score touchdown. I'm going to say he blows up Isaiah Williams.
Oh,
Isaiah catches a little bubble
There you go.
screen or something, and Deshaun shoots the gap and absolutely blows him up, grabs the ball and scoops and scores for a touchdown late in the game when it's 14-13 or something like that. And then Nebraska gets a somewhat of a comfortable win out of the situation, which leads us directly to our score predictions. Or no, it doesn't. My bad. See, I don't even know the order of my own, but at least I got the intro right today. Finally. People could hear us and they could see us when the intro video was over. So, yay me. There you go. There's your players to watch for. We know why you want to watch for Joshua Fleeks, but how about Nash? What grabs you about Nash? I know he's triple teamed most of the day.
Yeah.
Saturday, it seemed.
I think he's gonna wake up pissed off and just like eat his Wheaties and just go after their offensive line. He looked really gassed in the second half against Michigan. So I think he just needs to have a coming out party. I don't know why I said that. He's already had a coming out party against these lesser opponents so far. So yeah, I think he's going to do really good. And that Saturday, probably get a sack or two at least. So,
All right, Scott, your turn.
So I'm looking at our running back room. We've got Anthony Grant, and we've got Emmett Johnson right behind him on the depth chart as of right now. And then you've got Joshua Fleeks behind him. And I still think Emmett Johnson sees the field primarily as the number 2 guy. But I do think, at that point, Joshua Fleeks has potentially earned himself a few reps in the game where he might have not seen them before. But as a primary number 2, I'm thinking Emmett Johnson because we kind of know what we're going to get out of Anthony Grant. He's serviceable. He's not wow. He might do a few finesse things here and there, but against serviceable defenses, he's really not that much of a weapon. So what is Emmett Johnson going to look like? What is Joshua Fleeks going to look like? I picked Emmett Johnson. So that's who I'm going to be looking at on the offense. And then on the defense, I'm going to be looking at Ty Robinson. He is a seasoned veteran on that defense who needs to do more. I think he needs to show up this game. I think he needs to kind of get into a second gear and be more of a leader on this defensive line and start to influence just an dominating performance against an Illinois offensive line that's not going to get pushed over that easily. So that's who I'm looking at this game. What about you, Dad?
Yeah, I like those picks for all four of those picks. Really, I don't mind even the Joshua Fleeks one, even though I think you're a little over your skis there, predicting a Melvin Gordon type performance. But anyway, I'm going to go with Billy Kemp the fourth on offense, simply because I don't think Illinois is going to be too keen on letting us run much. I think we're going to probably see fairly similar rushing numbers again this Saturday or this Friday night, just because, I mean, why not, right? Let's be honest. Illinois is the type of team that's always ended up getting a get-right game against Nebraska, after they have a struggle. So I don't think we're going to run the ball much. I think Michigan was keyed in on Harburg, didn't let him get loose at all. In fact, we actually saw an elusive pitch, something we haven't seen very often this year on an option, and it didn't go anywhere either. And I think Illinois is just not going to let us run much. So I could see Billy Kemp getting up in that 65 to 85 yards in receptions in this game, because I think Harburg's going to have another good game. I think he had a decent game against Michigan. I think he throws for over 200 against Illinois. And Deshaun Singleton, obviously, based on my bold prediction. I think Deshaun has a good game defensively. Maybe he becomes our first double-digit tackler for the season. Never know. I didn't even notice to see it. How bad am I that I didn't even look to see if Nebraska had a double-digit tackler against Michigan?
Oh, brother, I
anyway.
have the stats.
Yeah, go look real quick just to make
No,
sure.
we didn't. No, we
I
didn't.
didn't think so.
Nick
There we
Henrik
go.
was
Predictions. Go for it, Jake.
We're gonna beat
Tell
that
us why.
ass. That's what we're gonna do.
No,
We're gonna
beat
beat
them
that
too.
Illinois ass. We're gonna go into Champaign. We're gonna take the Nebraska flag and plant at midfield for the quote unquote disrespect at the end of the game. I really do think this is our get right game. I think we get back on track. I'm fired up for it. Compared to last week, where I was like, I don't think there's a chance we win. I think there's a high chance we win this game. I really do. I think that Illinois is searching for answers right now, to whereas we kind of know that we are a full complementary team. We have to play complementary football. The defense is going to save us. So that's where we're at. So,
all righty. And Scott.
Okay, so
God, no!
You just stomped on it.
It's a get right game.
Ripped it right out of his chest and let him look at it while it's still beaten.
So here's the thing. All right. We suck. And so that just kind of necessitates okay, Nebraska sucks and Illinois sucks going into this game. Who's going to win that game? Let's think about Nebraska's going to win. They're going to lose that game 100% of the time. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we haven't proven to get out of our own rectum up to this point yet. So I'm looking at it, and like I said, when you look at the stats between our offenses, I mean, they're basically even. The difference is Isaiah Williams, and that we've had two quarterbacks where they have had one, so they've had the ability to cohesively be together as a team. And then defensively, like I said, I think our defense is a mirage. I think it's not as good as people are really thinking it's going to be. And so this is just going to be an ugly game. It's going to suck to watch. It's not going to be fun for anybody. There's going to be some exciting moments. Like I said, my bold prediction that isn't even a prediction. It's just going to happen. I'm Nostradamus. Do you see these glasses? They're so freaking thick. I can predict the future, boy. So that's what's happening right now. The future has been predicted. Nebraska is going to have a weird ass game, and they're gonna goof it up at the end, and it's going to be painful. But I mean, Vegas has us predicted to lose. We've only got a 30-something% chance of winning, and basically, I mean, what do you want? What do you want Nebraska to do? Actually, exceed your expectations? Come on, man, don't do that. Don't do that to me here. Nope, not going to happen.
Well, I can understand your reasoning. I can also understand
Let's go.
reasoning, but I'm kind of in the middle. I'm in the middle on this. I kind of gave away my score a little bit when I was talking about my bold prediction, the fact that it's 14-13 late in the game. Deshaun Singleton will blow somebody up, scoop and score, and Nebraska pulls off the 21-13 upset in Champaign on my birthday. Friday, October 6th is my 6th birthday, and I'm really hoping for a better result than my last birthday, which was October 6, 2007, when Nebraska was in Columbia playing Missouri and won or lost to the tune of 41-6, I think it was. Yeah, something like that. 41-7, 41-6. So it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And I'm hoping for not so awful this time. It's not going to be a blowout on either side. I just think Illinois makes one more mistake than Nebraska does. Nebraska gets kind of a get-right game, kind of figures out how to win on the road for the first time, and gets their first conference win, whereas Illinois, who some people said had a shot at the Big Ten West, still will not have a win in the conference after this game is over.
Spicy.
So
Scott said there's going to be pain. The only pain that's going to be there is the pain we're going to inflict on Illinois. So
I would take that, honestly. Like I'm okay with winning.
You ever,
by all means win
do
the
you ever
game,
listen,
but
do you ever listen to the post game show where the Vince from Napa calls in and he calls, he's a caller. I think I don't know what he does for a living, but he always get crescendos to this rant that we're going to fight with bloody knuckles. So he just like screams, we're going to fight with bloody. That's how I feel about this game. We're going to fight with bloody knuckles. So.
Well, all right then.
Sorry.
I think it's going to be a fight. I think it is. And it's going to be, I think no matter what, it's a coin flip. And when it comes to coin flips, of course I have to bet against Nebraska on the coin flip games. But if we do so happen to be on the other side of that coin, I think it'll be a fun, ugly game. So yeah, like it's gonna be a tussle. I can't wait.
It's gonna be a rock fight, as Schmitty on Hail Varsity Radio is so apt to put it. An absolute rock fight. We're gonna be chucking rocks at each other, and we're just gonna see who the least bloodied team is at the end. And I think it'll be Nebraska. We haven't won there in quite a while, and we're about due. And maybe I think this team is probably ready to just get the hell out of Nebraska for a week, for a few days, and get together and play as a team and not have so many distractions around them. I can't imagine what it was like trying to prepare for Michigan, knowing full well that 90% of your fan base didn't give you a shot to win. That had to have been tough, I mean, that's what they signed on the dotted line for. When you get your scholarship, that's what you're taking, quite frankly, some NIL money for, is to deal with that kind of stuff. But it's still, they're 18 to 22-year-old kids. It's still tough. Tough. So let's close this thing up. Let's get out of here. Let's just give away. Do you have a fun fact at all, Scott? I don't have any, really. Other than the fact that I met Larry the Cable Guy at work last week. So
awesome.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
It was very cool. He's like one of the nicest, kindest guys I've ever met out there, out of all the members. Some of them could be a little, they're members. They're paying gobs of money to be at this club. So, but yeah, that was cool. That's my fun fact.
I do like, so I will go into a fun fact, but I do like Moonbot's suggestion. He says, have your overall record predictions changed? ? Maybe next week add a segment to re-predict the year, almost as like a halfway point type of.
Yeah, we can
situation.
let's do
that. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
because I have changed. I had it at 6-6, and I now have us going 5. Like I'm in like a soft 5-7. I'm in a hard 5-7, soft 4-8. But I would like to go into my reasoning for that and which games that means, and we could go into it.
We did a record prediction show early, long before, like 4 weeks before the season started, or maybe even longer. I know we did a way too early one right after the spring game, And then we came back and we revisited that. We did the Kool-Aid versus reality picks, and we picked 2 different records based on whether we were drinking the absolute Kool-Aid versus what we thought realistically was possible. If I remember correctly, I was in the 9-3 range for Kool-Aid and 7-5 for realistic. And I think Moonbot's point is valid in the fact that 7-5 for me right now is going to be if this team really pulls some stuff together in the next 7 weeks, and they got to knock out 5 wins. I think there's 5 winnable games out there. The question is this a team that can win them? So, but yeah, I would love to do that, do a kind of a state of the union, if you will, halfway through.
Yes. See where things are at.
State of the podcast
Analyze.
pod,
Hypothesize.
and that would be cool. Absolutely. Any fun facts at all, Jake, that you've thought of that you want to throw in there?
Fun facts. I forgot about mine. I went camping. I did need to say that at least. So I went camping over the weekend. Is my wife's birthday on Wednesday.
Nice.
And so we went out there to celebrate her birthday. And we went out to Indian Cave State Park, and it was just beautiful. I went and saw my buddy Antoine, aka Laura, aka Antonio, aka Big Tony. I just got all sorts of names for him, but as of now, I call him Antoine. But best friend, he met me out at Indian Cave. Is about a 3-hour drive for him, and so we got a nice little spot. The bugs were biting, but the fire was burning neatly, and the food was yummy. And we had some good laughs. We talked about aliens. We talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about aliens, skinwalkers. What would we do in a post-apocalyptic situation? He and I have already determined that we're going to become warlords and we're going to enslave a bunch of people. So just forewarning, if the apocalypse happens, I don't know what the fate is for any of you, but
I've got dibs on Texas.
And we just talked about a bunch of other stuff. It was a great night. Dude, I just love camping. I love camping so much. And we're probably going to try and go camping one more time. But it was a good night. It was a good night. Like I said, I was able to unplug and stay away from all things stressful Husker football. And yeah, just got some good me time, wife time. Our dog came with us. That was really fun. He was having just a hoot. He loves camping. And then gotta catch up with an old buddy. So that's my fun fact. What about you, Jake?
So last week I was caught off guard, and I was telling my wife this, like my brain just switched off completely. I instantly kind of panicked on air. I was like, there's nothing interesting about me. I'm not cool. All these things. I think I said I like sports last week or something. This week, I love Toyota Corollas. I love Toyota Corollas. They're like the best car. They've sold
They're so reliable.
They're so reliable.
They get great gas mileage.
They do. I've owned 2 of them now. They're fantastic. I love Toyotas, Subarus. I've called both of my Toyotas the Rolls Royce. So that's been fun.
I love that. Yo, let's hop in my Rolls Royce. I gotta go.
I know. I unfortunately had a 2019 Toyota Corolla, but it got totaled in a car accident this year. So I have a Subaru now again, but I love Toyota Corollas. They're not expensive. The maintenance is cheap. Great gas mileage, as Scott said. So I think they're awesome cars. So that's
my first vehicle was a Toyota 78 Toyota SR5 long bed pickup truck.
It's awesome.
So yeah, my knees, if you can imagine me in a micro truck, my knees were right around the outside of the steering wheel because there wasn't any freaking leg room. And but I loved it. 5-speed on the floor. Oh God, I love that truck. Beat the living daylights out of that thing too. But it slid real well around the corners on dirt roads. It was awesome. So yeah, other than meeting Larry the Cable Guy, I don't really have much fun facts. I work tomorrow morning. I think we've got another event going on, so that ought to be fun. Anyway, how can folks follow you, Mr. Jake, besides, at Texas Toasty 54? Are there any other places folks can find you?
I go by C Husker on YouTube. I don't have any real videos on there or anything, but mainly it's at Texas Toasty 54. And we try to be as positive as we can over there at the Texas Toasty News Network. I've come up with a lot of things, but we're always having Toasty Tates weekly. This week was the fans and all that. So, but mainly at Texas Toasty 54 on Twitter or X.
Cool. Scott?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter. It is Twitter in my mind. I just am gonna always protest
gonna
that
be
and
Twitter.
be like, it's just gonna be Twitter. It's gonna be formally Twitter for the next forever until it goes back to Twitter. But anyway, you can follow me on Twitter at Scott Gen Red Pod. That is Scott with 2 T's. The second T is and will always remain silent. You can follow me there for shenanigans. Unless I am camping where I have no signal, then there will be no shenanigans. I apologize.
You can follow the show and myself at Gen Red Pod on your favorite or on YouTube, Facebook, and X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter. You can also follow our show at Generation Red on your favorite podcast app. If you listen to us via Apple Podcasts and you haven't been getting our latest episodes, as I said before, make sure you unsubscribe from that old feed. Do another search for Generation Red, and you should be able to subscribe to the new feed. You'll see Scott and I's faces right there on the album artwork. We apologize for that. It was just a good idea at the time, we thought. Anyway, and then genredpod@gmail.com is our email address. Please send us any comments, questions, or suggestions for the show, or if you want to be a guest. Maybe we'll answer. Maybe we won't. You'll just have to email us and find out. Genredpod.com is our website where you can subscribe to our podcast via the links that are provided right there at the top of the page. Find out the schedule of our live streams, all that good stuff. And next week, we will be watching Illinois. Scott and I both will be here at the house watching Illinois, along with Honky from the Go Big Redcast. He'll come over. We're going to grill some stuff, have some fun, watch the game, and then be right down here in the studio for a rapid reaction that evening after the game is over. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. And then, of course, the regular show will come out on Monday morning. I think that's it, guys. Thanks, Jake, for joining us again, man. This was an absolute blast.
Thank you, guys.
We enjoy hanging out with you. So we really appreciate your time.
Anytime. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity. It was awesome. Today was, I'm sorry for being so crazy, but this was a lot of fun. So
it's fun to
you're fine, dude.
Just talking about it. It's great.
No problem, dude. We really appreciate it. And until next time, folks, for Texas Toast, I'm Ken. He's Scott. Together we're Generation Red. And we're here to remind you every single week that there is absolutely no place like Nebraska.
And Iowa's corn just eternally sucks. Amen.
Amen and hallelujah. God bless y'all, and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.